Yeah, it's Sean showing his place.
It's better than showing my face.
There you are.
Here's your folder. Okay, make sure you launch and like go. Okay.
No, they put up like a template and then we put in like a contract.
Also to start the conversation, if we haven't already, about your business, your needs, your goals. The two folks we have presenting today, I will tell you, will be with us all day. So if you would like to have a one-on-one consultation this afternoon as a follow-up, they are more than happy to do that. So we're excited to have you here. Did everyone get the audit form? There's a, well, this form, may I borrow yours? Did you see this inside your folder? Did you get that filled in? Fantastic, thank you, Judy. If you haven't, if you haven't filled that in yet, please do so now and just wave it at one of the folks on this side of the room. And there we go, there's one right now. We'll get you entered because somebody in this room at the end, and you must be present to win, is going to take home the new Nexus 7. If you haven't seen it, this is really nifty. A mini 7-inch tablet. I have two folks in Oshkosh who got them over the weekend, and I think it's the coolest thing. So we're excited to be giving one of those away. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our presenters this morning. We have Jody Beals.
This company is capable of doing more things than I was as a solo company owner. Owning my own outfit or working for even a smaller outfit, the reach that they have, it wasn't the reach that digital is actually capable of. And Gannett has been, you know, a company for over 30 years. They have, not to be tacky, but they have deeper pockets, they have deeper reach, and they have a lot of different hands and a lot of different things. And we've also kind of acquired a lot of things in recent times, and we'll get into that a little bit as far as what our media reach is. And for me and for everyone else who's kind of on board at Gannett Local, that is the real reason why we chose to be here, is because all those things are now possible. Okay, moving right along. Just to give you a quick agenda, I'm going to steal a sip. Just to give you a quick agenda of today, we're going to go a little bit over the evolution of marketing, defining, you know, a little bit about digital integration. We're going to go over a few statistics. You'll notice that we do reference all of our statistics at the very bottom. I know on the minimized piece, it's probably microscopic to read. The reference is really small in the bottom left-hand corner. But if anybody does want a list of the statistics sites or where we get them from, I have those for you as well. And then we will go over how this will impact your business in the long run. And then some social strategies. We are going to get into social media a little bit, just so that way you guys understand how social and search kind of work together. And then we're also going to get into some case studies. Okay. This today is meant to be educational. I don't want anybody to feel like this is some sort of weird, crazy timeshare presentation or something, and at the end we're going to ask you to buy a blender. This is literally meant to be educational. I want everybody to, if you have questions, please ask. I actually have a little bit of incentive for anybody who'd like to. Oh, I thought I was doing this. For anybody who'd like to participate, I am going to ask for people to share or maybe ask some open questions, and we'll buy you a extremely expensive cup of Starbucks coffee if you're willing to share with us. So I'll penalize it a little bit. So let's just go ahead and get right on into it. I know this is completely not legible. You won't be quizzed on any of this info, so don't worry about it. What it does, this is actually, it's so small on here. What it really shows, I'll just kind of get into it, this is just sort of the evolution over the last, 2 decades plus of kind of what we've been involved in marketing realms, okay? So it goes way back to 1990. I know that's hard to go back that far to remember. But it kind of, I know you can't see, the excuse me, the 6 things that are listed here are direct mail, telephone, television, radio, print, and display. Because obviously right around 1990, there's one there, there you go, hi, welcome. Those up until, right around that time were really the only ways of kind of reaching out. Those were the only ways of marketing. Everybody kind of pushed and pulled around that. I mean, I think we can all remember the early 90s of being telemarketed to high heaven at all times. There was like, every phone call you took was a telemarketing phone call. But things like that were kind of like the first major reach, and then as you kind of moved into where we are now, and there wasn't even enough room to list all the things that are available to us with social realm and digital realm and all the different things that you can now do just in social media itself. There are so many things that you can do. I know Facebook is obviously the granddaddy of them all, but there are so many other sites that are developed and now being worked upon that all kind of feed into that. And we're going to get into all of those. What, though, I mean, Feel free to answer, but don't shout all at once. I only have so many cards. What is the strongest form of marketing? I mean, a lot of you are business owners, yeah? What is the strongest form of marketing that you would say? What is it? Go ahead.
Word of mouth.
Very good. You're correct. Okay. That man gets a cold right Here you go. Here you go. There you go. That's correct. Word of mouth has been the most effective form of marketing. There is nothing as strong as someone who is a friend, a neighbor, a coworker, coming up to you or coming up to someone else and saying, I went to this place, it's fantastic. The chiropractor there was great. The chef is awesome. This business is they're so on point with everything that you'll want. There is nothing that strong. Nothing. I don't care what new groovy invention we come up with. There is nothing that's that effective. But how do you track that? How do you incentivize that? How do you get an ROI off of that? Got me, right? I mean, how do we know any of those things? The world has kind of shifted from, I remember, I won't give away my age because thanks to Oil Delay, I don't have to. You know, it used to be that you'd make a simple phone call to say, you know, who was that guy that you used to paint the outside of your house? Who was that plumber that you used? It's not that those days are necessarily gone, but it's not quite that way anymore. Now it's simply getting online and seeing reviews. You are willing to trust a stranger with what their opinion is, almost more than a friend sometimes, because you feel, oh, this person's got nothing in for them. And I know that seems like crazy backwards thinking, but it is. This is something that I think, I'm not trying to be insulting in any way when I do this, but regardless of what digital presence you have, or what social presence you have, whether you like it or not, people are already discussing your brand and your business without your volition. They're doing it. The only difference between being a part of DMS, or the digital world, I'm going to use that abbreviation a lot, forgive me, or being part of the social world, is that you've chosen to take control of what those people are saying. You've said, okay, I already know that they're checking into my business. They're becoming a mayor of my business. Does anybody know what I mean when I say mayor? Yeah, no? Anybody a mayor of anything cool? Like Gladys? No? Okay. Mayor of Target. Reviews are being made about your business. The choice is not anymore, do I want to get into this or not? It's how am I going to control this and what am I going to do to take this into my own hands, because they're talking about your business whether you like it or not. I promise. Every time we do a seminar and I talk to people about their media, they are shocked when I show them. I'm like, hey, did you know someone made you a Foursquare location or they left you a Google review? They're like, oh, no, was it good? You know, am I okay? So things like that are kind of what we're here to discuss. Here's a quick, this first lesson of the day. Has anybody heard of Google's Zmot? Not ringing a bell. Oh, she nodded right away. She's like, yes, I have. Anybody else? Zero Moment of Truth, ZMOT, Google Zmot? Okay. It is a free download. If you go into Google and Google ZMOT, you can download this publication. It's only 75 pages. You can boot it up to your e-reader or your new tablet you may get today, because that probably comes with Zmot, to be honest, since it's a Google tablet. But I mean, Google kind of puts out, you know, things like bulletins and things like that. But as far as publishing an actual pamphlet, not ever. They've never done that. So when they do that, it's obviously pay attention time because they're trying to tell you something. The entire 75 pages, and if you haven't read it, I mean, I definitely think that that's the first thing you should do. If you haven't read it, it kind of talks about the consumer shift. And I know that we've probably heard more about the word consumer shift than we have just about Zmot, but it's literally saying the world has now changed as far as how consumers approach a product or how they approach a company in general. And it's no longer that you go out and you test drive, or you kick the tires, or you smell it and you taste it and you think about it, and then you leave, and then maybe you go back after you've tried on a few other things, or you've checked a few places out, or you've shopped with different realtors. They're making these decisions way in advance now. They're making them online based on cost, based on what other people say, based on what they can see, based on a photo. I have literally watched, and I'm kidding you not, I have literally watched people buy cars they've never even driven. I'm like, that's a lot of faith. I don't have that much faith in the world. Maybe it's because it's from yours. I don't know, but I would never ever buy a car and never test drive it. But I've seen it happen. Well, I mean, women do it all the time. We're like, I don't feel like trying it on. If it doesn't fit, I'll just bring it back and I'll give it away. But this is now, and I do that all the time. But I mean, a blouse and a Cadillac, you know. This is now where people are living. This is where they live, is in the data. This is where they make their decisions. This means two things. One, you have to now be a part of that preordained decision that they're making. And two, your clients are now coming to you, as what I like to call as a loaded gun. I mean, that person is coming to you as a buyer. They're coming money ready in hand. They've already made their decision. They're coming to you and they're ready to go. Are you ready to take them on that way? Are you helping in that process? Okay, and that's what we're going to kind of get into. Okay, there's been a shift in the way that search works. And we're going to touch on this a little bit harder than we do some other things, only because it's important that we kind of know how this came about and why. Initially, when Google kind of hit the scene, it was a company called Urchin. I don't know how many of you follow techie, geeky news like the rest of us do. But Urchin literally was formed on the basis of pay to play, and that's just the end of it. So however much money you were paying. And it was just there was no map, there was no organic, it was just all paid all the way down. And what page you ended up on was literally just by about how much money you were willing to spend, and that was it. So unfortunately, all the high dollar people were the ones that ended up on page one. And I think we can all remember, at least from what I can see in this room, I think we can all remember the time when you actually searched for something and it was just ridiculous stuff would come up. And you're like, why do I even use the search engine? None of this makes sense. You know, you're looking up something about getting, something for your house, like a vacuum and farming equipment comes up. So that is kind of when you saw places like Bing and Yahoo kind of move onto the scene, and that was their claim to fame, is that now it will drown out all of the unnecessary things that you're searching. Google got very wise, and they got hip to that right away, and then they kind of changed it up a little bit. It was still a pay-to-play game with Google, except they started basing it a little bit more on relevancy as far as, it wasn't just pay. As we've moved on in the last, I don't know if you guys, it was probably, what am I looking at, 7 months ago, Jody? 7, 8 months ago when Panda, yeah? I don't know if any of you have heard about it, but the penguin and panda, did you guys see anything? It was all over the news. They used a little panda head and a little penguin head, and they were kind of talking about it almost as if it was a fun thing, and you saw marketers everywhere like, oh. And because anybody who knew anything about it was like, no. What Google had decided, and they did this for you. They did this for the business. It had nothing to do with anybody on the digital realm. It had to do with business owners, and this is actually a really good thing. Google has decided, we have a lot of money. We're not worried about just making money off of every single person that's in the world or in the town that you live in. They decided that relevancy, content, and where you are actually located is now just as important as how much money you spend. So if I'm standing here, I'm on Fond du Lac, I would say about Fond du Lac, got it, okay. My New York accent doesn't fit, does it? They've now decided that if you're here, a business that does the exact same thing as you, that's maybe in Sheboygan, or that's maybe just completely in Green Bay, shouldn't necessarily have billing before you, because they're literally on their phone, or they're on their tablet down the street from where your business is. Which means your local placement is now more important in Google's eyes because it's relevant to what they're looking for. And the ultimate person that they have to please is who? All of us. Because no matter how many consumers or how many clients or how many businesses, I'm still someone who's searching, and so are you, and so are you. So it doesn't matter. Because if it's not relevant to what you want, we'll stop using it. They understand that Bing is breathing down their throat. I still say Bing has to have commercials, and I haven't seen a Google commercial. But at the same time, they understand that this market is changing. And so in order to cater, they have to cater to the correct people, which is all of us. So your localized listing has now become just as important as any other listing. They've also decided that now when it comes to organic search, relevancy and content and what type of business you are, and what type of reviews you have, and how many mentions you're receiving, is now just as important as where you're located. So you'll have your localized listings, but now organic isn't just simply about attaching you to the right words anymore. It's also about making sure that your reputation is managed. It's also about making sure that if you have reviews, you're doing something about it. And I don't just mean negative. I mean positive just as well. Your response, how you are as a business, what people are saying about you, what social channels you're attached to, all of that now plays into where you come up organically. And it has not until recently. The advantages for business, obviously, of using SEO is a little bit higher ROI. Okay, simply because people are now responding more to the organic than they have been to paid. That doesn't mean that paid goes away. It's still just as important, but there's two different mindsets there. We're going to talk about that. It also is about increasing your visibility. People now are responding to organic as, oh, this person's relevant, or they wouldn't be on page one. Does that make sense? I mean, think about it. Like, that's kind of a lot of our mindset, may not be everyone. But I mean, if you see someone come up organically now, especially if you know the space even just a little bit, you realize that that business must be relevant, or they must be doing something right, or they wouldn't be right there. Or they're down the street, which is even better, because now I don't need to think, I can just go. So things like that are actually what is more coming into play. Oh, wow. The best practices for SEO, and I'm just going to sum this up so that way we kind of understand. A little better. Okay, content is all what SEO is about. The way that content is displayed, what your content is. Okay? If you simply... I don't think it makes an actual difference. That's our fault. We'll switch that over to black font when I get a second. content is honestly 90% of the battle that you will have with SEO. The rest of it is simple things like placement and yes, reviews. And I hate to say that reviews are only 10%, but they really are, because those can be managed with 10% of your time. They need to be managed accurately. But content and what types and how it's displayed. What are you grabbing that person with? What is your ultimate reach with that person? How if you've just got something that simply says buy, or here's my company, that's not necessarily going to reach out and grab as many people as it should. But if you have something that triggers, or if you use something like, my boss loves to talk about camel font. I think he thinks he invented it, truthfully, because he actually worked with Urchin before it became Google. But has anybody ever heard of camel font? Do we know what that means? No? Camel font is literally, when you go into a search, I know when you kind of look at the line listings, we call them ads, same different line listings. It's literally capitalizing the beginning of each word. So every letter has got a capital, or every first letter of each word has a capital letter on it. It is geared that way intentionally, and this is based on a psychiatric evaluation of consumer statistics. This isn't just they decided that it's eye-catchy. Based on the fact that that catches the consumer's eye, and that will draw them to your line item quicker than it will someone else's. The style of font you use. You only have a certain amount of characters to grab that person to click on you versus clicking on the next guy. So what is put in there is really important. The content of where they're landing is also important. We're going to get into that, because this is so legible. As far as analytics and goals, and I'm just going to breeze over this since it's not legible on here anyway, sorry. The rest of it is more legible, I promise. As far as analytics and goals, that is kind of having a strategy of how you want to approach your audience, knowing who your audience is and how you plan on reaching them. Those are big things. And search kind of ties more into that more now than it ever has. And that's also with paid search as well as organic. You need to know who it is that you're reaching out to. You need to understand the analytics that are coming back to you, which Google does supply. That is something that you can go into Google and learn how to read those analytics if you don't. I mean, give yourself a spare couple hours to read over text. It's not something I would pick up on a lunch hour because it is mind-numbingly boring to read Google Analytics, but it's also time-consuming. But they literally will provide this to you for free. You can go in there and you can get a report back on how you're doing organically, or where you're ranked, or where your website is ranked, and why it's ranked that way. And also, if you are paying for ads, if you're doing it yourself, or if you're using a company, your company or Google itself can produce these reports for you to show you exactly why you're getting that click-through rate, or why you're getting that type of response, and who's responding to it. Maybe you have always thought your demographic is one specific area, but come to find out, oh, actually no, there's this other demographic that's now responding, and they're coming from this area, or this zone, or this part of town, and they're in this age range. So things like that are actually really important, and that's what your SEO should be geared towards. More than your page, believe it or not. Your page should be geared towards your regular demographic, whereas SEO should be geared towards the up-and-coming.